I'm Alex. I'm going to show you a quick and simple supper dish that I hope you'll all be able to make for yourselves. You have the recipe, I think, but I just want to go through the ingredients with you first of all. The key to this is pasta. Various different types of pasta are available, shapes of all sorts. Not long pasta are advisable for this, the chunky stuff is better. You can use the dry, or you can use fresh. I keep some fresh in the freezer all the time. You may have some in the freezer. That cooks in a few minutes. This takes much longer. So with the pasta, we're going to make a quick tomato sauce, fresh, or a jar of tomato, or tinned tomatoes, all are suitable, with some onion and some garlic. And then to that goes into the pasta, and to that you can add all sorts of things. For instance, sausages. Fresh sausages that you just cook in the oven or grill, or dried sausages, and these are the spicy Spanish ones. Or you can use tin sausages. The fresh ones need cooking first of all, the dried ones don't. Then you can use all sorts of vegetables. You can add tinned peas, sweet corn, or fresh or frozen. And other things you might have in the fridge, like sweet peppers chopped, a variety of things that you can add. So that's the ingredients, and the most important thing is get all your ingredients together first. So we'll start with our onions. First of all, chop the top end, the flowering end off. Leave the root end together, otherwise the whole thing falls to pieces. If you're going to cut it, cut on a flat piece like that, cut through. And then we want to peel. Remove all the skin, peel the rest of the skin off the onion. Again, leave the end on, and we'll peel both halves. The reason you leave the end on is so that it doesn't all fall to pieces when you start cutting it. You will find it easier with a knife. You may not prefer to use your fingers just to peel it, but that's up to you. And it is much better to do all these jobs before you go to the cooker and before you start cooking. Now we're just going to cut through the onion diagonally all the way around, but leave the end attached. So when you get all the way around, you cut across the face and it is automatically chopped. Quick and easy. And the wider you cut, the bigger the chunk, and vice versa. And we'll just do that one once again. Cut right to the end, but not all the way through. You're going through to the board, but not through to the end of the onion. So that is done as quickly as that. That's ready to fry off in some oil in a minute. Now the garlic, if you have a garlic press, then that's the easiest thing to do. These are garlic cloves. You can buy, if you buy a whole head, it's about that size. You just want 2 or 3 cloves, which you need to peel. A bit like peeling the onion really, but again, get rid of all this skin. And then, as I say, if you have a garlic press, we can quickly do that. So if you have a garlic press, you may find that is the easiest way of doing it. We'll use those two. And you put them both into there and squeeze it through. You're going to cook these at the same time as the onions, so put them all together ready to go. A lot gets left in the base, just scrape it around and push it through again. Doesn't matter, it's not going to be fine. It's a chunky sauce, so it really doesn't matter how fine or how small the onion is, garlic is. If you haven't got a garlic press, I was going to just quickly show you. Once you've peeled your garlic, with a big knife, this is a bit like the chefs do, crush it really hard, and then you can just finely chop it. It doesn't matter if it's not very fine. Nobody's going to check up on you. And that's the base of the sauce ready. With your tomatoes, you're just literally going to chop them because these will melt down whilst you're cooking. If you're using something like a sweet pepper, which is quite nice to give you some crunch, cut through the middle, open it out, remove the core and all the seeds. And all that white bit is not very exciting to eat. And then you want to just cut this into either strips or chunks, whatever you like. This is not a fine sauce, this is a chunky dish at the end of the day, so it doesn't matter how rough you make it all. And so that is how we're going to prepare all our ingredients. If you're using the dried chorizo sausage, again you want to just cut into chunks, which will be added at the end of cooking. Okay, so prepare all those ready and then we'll go over to the cooker. Now, dry pasta, you need a really good rolling boil. You must see the bubbles. And a couple of spoons of salt, but there's no need to put any oil in. And there. So this is about 200 grams of pasta. Put it all in. Let it come back to the boil again. The whole point of a rapid rolling boil is to help keep all the pieces separate. Once it's gone to a rapid rolling boil, and you can give it a good stir around to make sure everything is loose, I'm then going to put it onto the back burner so that we can carry on making the tomato sauce. But I'll show you when we're absolutely ready. So this is coming back to the boil. It needs to boil more than this for the pasta to be able to stay nicely separated. Right, just put the back light on. Okay, so that's happy. That can go on the back ring and continue cooking while we make the tomato mixture. Now I've put some oil in there, just ordinary vegetable oil. I will start with the onions first of all, onions and garlic. Start with a little bit of heat. You can add more heat. So let the onions start cooking before you do anything else. If you get the fat hotter, they'll start sizzling and you'll hear them start to cook. They want to cook until they've gone clear, translucent-ish, before you add anything else. Cooking the onions first helps to bring out their sweetness and their depth of flavour. Giving that an occasional stir. So this will only need 2 or 3 minutes, making sure all the pieces are separated. If you chop the onion finer, that's fine. It will just make an easier mixture, and it will be a much smoother mixture and cook more quickly. You can use red onions in this if you have them in preference, but I think the white onions or brown onions are sweeter. The red ones have a totally different flavour. Beginning to become translucent. You don't need to keep stirring. You do need to make sure that the onion pieces are evenly spread all over the base of the pan and not up the side, because if they go up the side they'll start to burn. I think that's cooked sufficiently enough. I'm going to add the tomato now. with a couple of spoonfuls of tomato sauce, or this could be stock. Whatever you happen to have, and a little bit of boiling water. Just to loosen up. If you want to add a stock cube in there to give it a bit more flavour, you can do. I'm going to add some herbs. These are just herbs de Provence, which is a mixed herb mixture. Good generous teaspoonful to give you some cuts. Or if you've got fresh basil, fresh parsley, any of the others, that's lovely. Add those too. And back to my pasta. Good to keep giving it a good stir. Make sure it's well separated. We're ready to, when this is softened into a sauce, we're ready to add our other ingredients. I'm just going to chop some more of this meat now, sausages. You can cut this smaller if you want to. Remember, when it's easier for eating to have food that is bite-sized, or if you're going to eat it with a fork, think of how you're going to pick it up with a fork, so you don't want big pieces. This one is quite spicy. I know people who don't like them very spicy, which is fine. So you can get milder chorizo, or you can get milder prepared sausages. Or you could use chopped ham, chopped ready cooked chicken, chopped leftover meats, all sorts of other leftover ingredients. A perfect leftover dish. This is going to take a good 10 minutes, which gives this plenty of time to cook down, and it needs to soften down quite a bit. I'm now going to add the other bits. The peppers, which I'm adding, will need a bit more time than this sausage, so I'll add that now. That just needs time to soften a little bit. A little bit more sausage, I think. This is a 3 to 4 portion dish. If you look on the pasta packet, it'll tell you how much to serve per person, and also how long to cook it, or how to cook it. It's always a good idea to read the instructions on a packet of pasta. Every different manufacturer will give you some different instructions. Very tedious, but true. So this is really only being heated through. As you can see, it's not a vast amount of meat or protein for anyone, but it doesn't need to be. You can make it purely vegetarian if you'd like to. And then I'm adding a tin of sweet corn as well, because I happen to have that. So you can use whatever you've got. And that's your sauce, really. Not that you would call it a sauce, it's a mixture. It's a quite peppery sausage, so I won't add much more pepper. I'm going to add a bit of salt. Pasta is quite a bland ingredient. And a little bit of pepper. Let it reduce a little bit. If you've got any fresh herbs, they are nice, just finely, easily chopped in at the last minute. Not finely, roughly. Parsley is the best of the lot. Or basil, if you have, to go with the tomato, is really good.